The world shifted. It was as if the very essence of reality had been torn apart and reassembled in an instant. It happened in a blink. One moment the sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees. The next, an impenetrable darkness swallowed everything. One moment we were in a forest, the next, darkness surrounded us, the air grew thick, it tasted metallic, wrong. Fear choked me. The once familiar forest now felt like an alien world, hostile and unwelcoming. I scanned the faces of my team. Each one of them, seasoned and battle-hardened, now looked like lost children. Their expressions were a mix of confusion and dread. Their eyes mirrored my own terror. We were soldiers once, trained to face the unknown, to confront danger head-on. This was beyond anything we had ever prepared for, trained to face the unknown. We had faced countless threats, both human and otherwise, but this was different. This was something out of our worst nightmares, but this was different. The very fabric of reality had unraveled. It was as if the world itself had turned against us, warping and twisting into something unrecognizable. The very fabric of reality had unraveled. We stumbled forward, our senses on high alert. Every step felt like a journey into the unknown, each sound amplified in the oppressive silence. We stumbled forward, our senses on high alert. The familiar sounds of the forest were gone. No rustling leaves, no chirping insects, just an eerie, unnatural silence. The familiar sounds of the forest were gone, replaced by a silence so profound it felt like a living presence. We were lost, not just in a physical sense, but in a way that chilled me to the bone, replaced by a silence so profound it felt like a living presence. We were lost, not just in a physical sense, but in a way that chilled me to the bone. It was as if the forest itself was watching us, waiting, not just in a physical sense, but in a way that chilled me to the bone. This wasn't our world anymore. This was something else, something twisted and wrong. The trees seemed to whisper secrets, the shadows moved with a life of their own. This wasn't our world anymore. This was something else, something twisted and wrong. This was the start of a fight for survival, a fight against an enemy we couldn't see or understand. This was the start of a fight for survival, the fight of our lives. We had to rely on our instincts, our training, and each other. There was no room for error, the fight of our lives. We moved as one, every sense heightened, every muscle tensed. This was our new reality, and we had to face it head-on, together. The creatures found us at dusk. They weren't animals, not anymore. They were twisted mockeries of life, their bodies contorted, eyes burning with an unnatural hunger. We fought back with instinct, honed from years of training. But these creatures were relentless. They moved with a horrifying speed and agility. Fear threatened to overwhelm me, but I knew our survival depended on me. I had to be strong. For myself, for my team. We suffered casualties, each loss a gut punch, each fallen comrade a reminder of the brutal reality of our situation. We were not fighting a war on a battlefield. This was a fight for our very souls, a descent into the heart of darkness. And we were woefully unprepared. Through the gloom it emerged, a city, not just any city, but one shrouded in mystery and darkness. It was as if the very essence of night had taken form, creating a place that seemed to exist outside of time and space. Not one made of concrete and steel, but of a strange, obsidian-like material. The buildings stood tall and imposing, their surfaces absorbing the faint light that managed to penetrate the thick fog. Each structure seemed to whisper secrets of an ancient past, long forgotten by the world above. It pulsed with an eerie light, a glow that seemed to come from within the very stones themselves, casting an otherworldly hue over everything. The light was not warm or inviting, but cold and foreboding, as if warning us to turn back while we still could. We approached cautiously, weapons drawn. The silence was unnerving. We were exposed, vulnerable. Every step echoed through the empty streets, amplifying our fear. The city seemed to be watching us, waiting for us to make a mistake. But we had no other choice but to press on. Our mission was clear, and turning back was not an option. We moved forward, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread, knowing that whatever lay ahead could change everything we thought we knew. Inside the city, we found remnants of a civilization long gone. The streets were lined with the decaying remains of what must have once been a thriving metropolis. Now it was a ghost town, a silent testament to a world that had vanished. Strange symbols adorned the walls, their meaning lost to time. These markings were unlike anything we had ever seen, hinting at a culture and language that predated our own by millennia. They told a story, but one we could not decipher. The air hung heavy with a sense of dread. It was as if the city itself was alive, breathing in the darkness and exhaling fear. The fog clung to us, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. It felt like we were walking through a graveyard. Each step was a reminder of the countless lives that had once filled these streets, now reduced to nothing more than memories and shadows. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional distant sound that sent chills down our spines. A graveyard of a forgotten world, a place where time had stood still, preserving the last moments of a civilization that had faced an unimaginable fate. We could feel the weight of their history pressing down on us, urging us to uncover the truth. We discovered scrolls, ancient texts written in a language we couldn't understand. These documents were fragile, yet they held the key to understanding what had happened here. Each scroll was a piece of the puzzle, waiting to be put together. They spoke of a great cataclysm, a disaster that had swept through the city, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. The texts described events that seemed almost mythical, yet the evidence around us suggested they were all too real. Of a darkness that consumed the world, a force so powerful and malevolent that it had the ability to erase entire civilizations. The more we read, the more we realized the gravity of the situation we were in. It was a chilling echo of our own predicament. The parallels between their fate and the challenges we faced were undeniable. It was as if history was repeating itself and we were caught in the middle of it. We were not the first to face this nightmare. Others had come before us, and they had failed. The realization hit us hard, but it also steeled our resolve. We had to succeed where they had not, for the sake of our world and the future of humanity. Deep within the city, we found it, a temple. Its entrance was guarded by statues. Their eyes glowed with an infernal light. We knew danger lurked within, but we also sensed a glimmer of hope. This place held answers we desperately needed. The temple was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers. Each one presented us with a new challenge. Traps designed to test our limits, puzzles that forced us to think clearly under pressure. We were being tested, judged. But the greatest challenge was not physical, it was the fear and doubt that gnawed at our minds. The temple preyed on our weaknesses. It forced us to confront our deepest fears. Section 5, Gateway to the Unknown. In the heart of the temple, we found it, a shimmering portal. It pulsed with raw energy. This was no ordinary doorway. This was a gateway to somewhere else, perhaps even a way back to our world. Hope, a flickering flame in the darkness, reignited within us. We discovered an inscription on the floor. It spoke of a ritual, a sacrifice that would open the gateway. But the inscription was incomplete. We were missing a vital piece of the puzzle. We were so close, yet the answer seemed just out of reach. The weight of our situation pressed down on us. We had come so far, endured so much. But could we decipher the inscription in time? Could we find the missing piece and unlock the gateway to our salvation? The answer came from the least expected source. It was a revelation that shook the very foundation of our trust. Sergeant Miller, a man who had fought beside me, bled beside me. We had shared countless battles, and I had always believed in his loyalty. He held the missing piece of the inscription. This artifact was the key to our mission, the one thing that could change everything. But instead of sharing it, he did the unthinkable. He betrayed us. The look in his eyes was something I had never seen before. Cold, calculating. Miller had always been ambitious. His drive was what made him a great soldier, but it also blinded him to the bonds we had formed. But this was a new level of treachery. He had been plotting behind our backs, weaving a web of deceit. He planned to use the inscription for himself, to gain power, to control the very forces we were trying to understand, to bargain for power in this new world. Anger surged through me. How could he be so selfish, so reckless? But beneath that anger, I felt a profound sadness. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the mission, but because of the friendship we had lost. How could someone we trusted turn on us like this? The team fractured. Trust was shattered. We were no longer a cohesive unit. We were now enemies, pitted against each other in this alien world. The camaraderie we once had was replaced by suspicion and fear. The fight for survival had taken a dark turn. It was no longer just about finding a way out. It was about navigating the treacherous waters of betrayal. It was no longer just about escaping this dimension. We had to watch our backs, not just from the dangers of this world, but from each other. It was about confronting the darkness within ourselves. Each of us had to face our own demons, our own capacity for betrayal. In the end, the greatest battle was not against the external threats, but the internal ones. The betrayal had forced us to look into the mirror and question who we really were. Miller's betrayal forced us to confront a terrible truth. This dimension wasn't just some random anomaly, it was a prison, a dumping ground for humanity's worst impulses. And we were trapped inside. The creatures we had been fighting, they weren't just mutated animals. They were manifestations of fear, of anger, of all the negative emotions that festered within this cursed place. We had been so focused on surviving that we hadn't stopped to consider the true nature of our enemy. We weren't just fighting for our lives, we were fighting for our souls. The stakes had never been higher. The creatures evolved, they became more cunning, more insidious. They no longer just attacked us physically, they invaded our minds, whispering doubts, amplifying fears. They preyed on our vulnerabilities, our past traumas, our deepest regrets. We were pushed to the brink. Sleep became a gamble, every shadow a potential enemy. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. We were fighting a war on two fronts, against the creatures and against ourselves. The enemy was inside our heads, and the only weapon we had was our own willpower, our own determination to survive. Just when all hope seemed lost, we found strength in each other. We clung to our humanity, to our compassion. We refused to let the darkness consume us. We fought back, not just with weapons, but with courage and resilience. The tide began to turn. We learned to anticipate the creatures' attacks, to shield our minds from their insidious whispers. We discovered a glimmer of hope in the darkest of places. We learned that even in the face of unimaginable horror, the human spirit could endure. We may be trapped in this dimension, but we would face whatever came our way together. For as long as we had each other, we had a reason to fight, a reason to hope.